today we are going to be entering the realm of green fire. Oh my goodness, entering the realm of green fire. You know, emeralds have been symbols of the prophecy, rebirth, and divine sight for thousands and thousands of years. And behind the mysticism that is lying behind this, there is some of the scientifically most fascinating minerals on Earth. It is really awesome. Chaotic yep, thank you, Mufasa, for that. So welcome into episode 13. It's Mystical Emeralds. And today we're diving deep into the chemistry, geology, and the origin stories of two of the most captivating emerald sources on the planet, Zambia and the legendary Swat Valley of Pakistan. Absolutely love this. So what makes an emerald, right? Now, we should start with the basics here. Emerald is the green variety of beryl, which has the chemical formula Be3Al2Si6O18, which is beryllium aluminum cyclosilicate. All right? Sage, I love it. Welcome in. Now, emerald being a beryl, it's in the same family as many other really loved beryls, like, well, morganite and well, what else? All sorts of aquamarines, beautiful stones, right? Goshenites. All right. So when we look at emerald, there's our formula right there. So we can see there's the beryl formula in the upper left, and inside of this, what makes it green is tiny amounts of chromium or vanadium, which sneak into that crystal lattice and replace some of the aluminum. So you see there, you've got the Be3. Next to that, you have aluminum, and some of that aluminum gets replaced by chromium and or vanadium. Now, that substitution bends light in a way that produces the emerald's signature green. Very, very special, very unique, and it only occurs in very special occasions. Well, vanadium helps with blue. What really drives it blue, and we're going to get into that a little bit with the Zambians, is going to be some iron. Now, emeralds form in some of the most geologically violent environments on Earth. You need beryllium-rich fluids that collide, and I mean collide, with chromium-rich rocks. And these are two ingredients which almost never occur together. So when they do occur together and collide like that, in that situation, the result is emerald, along with a whole lot of inclusions. That is why you rarely get emeralds that look like this, right? Some people think of emeralds and they think of this. Yes, they do, Sage. People think, oh, well, emeralds are going to look like this. No, most of them do not look like this. In fact, if you had an emerald like that, a natural emerald like that, you would be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most emeralds look like this with a jardín. That is the jardín, which is basically the garden. That is the French word for garden, and that gives the emeralds not only its distinction, but it's also a record of their birth. What will happen with many of the stones that you see out there when you go to a jeweler and you see an emerald pendant or necklace or ring like this? It's a synthetic. All right, it's a glass or a synthetic emerald. Now, you might end up seeing some cleaner emeralds, and all of those emeralds are treated. So it's either treated with an oil or with a polymer. So very important to keep that in mind, okay? Now, when we move down here, what I love about emeralds is, before we get into really the scientific origins, we want to talk about the mysticism behind emeralds. And in the ancient world, if you're into a lot of the ancient myths and stuff, you will know that emeralds were believed to be these stones of prophecy and divine sight. In Egypt, they were associated with rebirth and eternal youth, and Cleopatra famously claimed the emerald as her personal emblem of power. In Vedic traditions, emeralds were linked to Mercury. All right, yes, the god of Mercury, the planet of intellect and communication, and it was believed to sharpen the mind and reveal hidden truths. Isn't that awesome? Yes, they did think every green stone was emerald, whether it was chrome diopside from Russia, which they called Russian emerald, or if it was green tourmaline from Brazil. They thought all of those were until much later. Now, medieval scholars believed and wrote that emeralds could break illusions and expose lies, while early Islamic texts describe it as a stone that calms the heart and protects travelers. Maybe that's why I feel so calm with you all here, all right? So across cultures, the message was always the same. Emeralds weren't just gems, they were windows into clarity, wisdom, and the unseen. I don't know about all that, but honestly, when you look into a fine emerald, especially under magnification like we do here in our laboratory, you do feel like you're staring into something ancient and alive. Now, long before modern geology, I can't talk today, the first scientist to document the emeralds was the Greek philosopher Theophrastus, and that was around 315 BCE. Now, in his work, and I'm sure some of our friends in here have read some of this, it's really interesting. In his work on stones, he describes the gem we call emerald as smaragdos, and he noted its color and luster, and even some early ideas about how it was formed. Yes, Sage, isn't that cool? Now, centuries later, and we've talked about Pliny the Elder before. Pliny the Elder expanded that knowledge in his natural history book, which is really a trip to read. And in there, he noted and recorded that these emeralds were coming from Egypt, Scythia, and beyond. And these early scholars, they weren't just cataloging minerals, they were laying the foundation for gemology itself. And their writings are kind of the bridge between the ancient myths and the scientific understanding, which shows how for us, I know Don's kind of the same, right? For us, for humanity, we've always been captivated by the green fire of emeralds. Now, some of you that have been with us now for many years, you know that for us, one of our favorite sources of emeralds is the Swat Valley emerald. We call these the Himalayan green flames, and it is one of the most dramatic emerald localities on Earth, Swat Valley, Pakistan. So here is the, I'm going to show you, here is the outside of the mine where we get our Swat Valley emeralds from. And we have worked with this family. It's a family of 17. and we've worked with this family since 2022. And they have been on this parcel of land for generations. These emeralds form in the quartz schist veins in the Himalayan foothills, and this region was shaped by the collision of continents. But their geology is young, and it's very young, especially compared to Zambian that we're going to look at in a little bit. And this is about 23 million years old. And the forces involved are enormous, absolutely enormous. So when we look at the mine, this is the inside of their mine. That's one of the cousins that works in the mine. Now, our guy that we deal with, I asked him, do you ever go down inside? And he said, heck no, I'm not going down in there. And he sent us a video of that. Now, these Swat Valley mines are generally subsurface mines. And our supply comes from what is called a adit mine. That's A-D-I-T. And this is a mine shaft which goes subsurface at an angle. All right, and I'll show you. There's their mine. Early in the morning, they send one of the youngsters, as he said, one of the younger family, down inside. And as they go down in there, they basically are mining the rock and carving out that tunnel. It is really, really scary. No, they just down there, they're just cutting out the pieces and bringing them up. I'm going to show you how they sort those here in a little bit. Now, inside these, the Swat Valley mines, these are emeralds. They're known for their vivid saturated green, which is a color that rivals the Colombian muso stones, just not quite as blue, and that's due to the iron content. And so even small crystals are going to have an incredible punch. Now, when we go microscopic with Swat Valley emeralds, these are famous for their three-phase inclusions. So here's an example of some Swat Valley mine emerald inclusions, and a three-phase inclusion can have a liquid, a gas bubble, and then a tiny solid crystal, which in the Swat Valley mine emeralds are often magnesite. So these inclusions are diagnostic, and they're kind of like a passport stamp from the Himalayas. So in these photo micrographs, we see a classic Swat Valley three-phase inclusion structure. We see the liquid phase, which is water rich over here. We see that liquid phase. That is also shown in the Raman shift microscopy, right? And oh, you can't see you can see that over there in C. You can see the little liquid phase. You can see gas bubbles. Gas bubbles are typically either carbon dioxide, nitrogen gas, or even CH4, which is methane. And you can also have mixtures of these gases, which are more common. Good morning. Thank you for promoting the show. Holy cow, John. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. In these inclusions, you will also see dolomite, quartz, fluorite, siderite, talc, muscovite platelets, tourmaline, rutile needles, magnetite, carbon inclusions. It is a literal mineralogical playground. Here's a really cool example of a Swat Valley. Thank you again for that boost. I'll go ahead and trigger a giveaway here for that. There we go. All right, so like here we see a beautiful Swat Valley mine emerald, and this has this absolutely lovely, lovely quartz. It is in quartz. Gorgeous Swat Valley mine emerald. That would make just a beautiful, beautiful ring or a lovely, lovely pendant. When I've also got, let me see if I can put my fingers on it. We've also got some lovely emeralds here, which these inclusions are pyrite. These inclusions in here, right there, you can kind of see that metallic-y nature. You can see it here. That is pyrite on there. Isn't that lovely? Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So these inclusions are diagnostic for Swat Valley emeralds, and they are the strongest origin indicators that gemologists rely on. Needed some of my tea there. And let's jump over here. So these trace elements, chemically, the Swat Valley mine emeralds will be loaded with chromium, magnesium, iron, and alkali metals, along with unusually high scandium. And that scandium hints at those deep crustal sources. So once again, when we look at the mine, you can see we're going way, way down, right? 50, 75, 100 feet. They are going down, down, down in that mine in order to mine those emeralds. Now, we're going to now shift gears a little bit and talk about Zambian emeralds. Zambian emeralds are the iron-cooled greens of Africa. Iron-cooled greens of Africa. These are from the Kafubu region of Zambia. The Kafubu region of Zambia. There we are. And here's a really cool little video I found. This isn't one of mine. The Zambian mines are completely different. These are completely different. Zambian emeralds form where beryllium-bearing pegmatites meet chromium-rich ephemerolites, and the chemistry here is a little bit different, and that is why the color is different. Now, Zambian emeralds are the oldest emeralds on Earth, and these are formed over 500 million years ago. So that is a significantly older emerald than the Swat Valley mine emerald. And compared to the Swat Valley mine emeralds, the Kagem mine is a open pit mine, as you see in that video. So two completely different methods of mining. And also in Zambia, these are all, instead of it being multiple much smaller miners, virtually all of the Zambian emeralds are coming from a firm called Gemfields. And the reason that has occurred is because in Zambia, there was a lot of, we hear about blood diamonds, right? That trade in gemstones extends to colored gemstones. And Zambia made the decision a few years ago. They actually shut down Kagem mine for a little bit. And what they did is they basically brought in Gemfields to manage the whole thing, ensure not only that it's being done in an ecologically sound manner, but also that everything was being replanted. So what Gemfields does is, as they're moving this open pit mine, they're backfilling, replanting, reforesting, and they're using all of the local community to do that. And so it's really, really a great way to ensure that you are getting ethically sourced stones. Now, Zambian emeralds are sold in a different manner, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Now, let me turn that off. Zambian emeralds are known for their cooler bluish green tone. So when we look at a Zambian versus the Swat Valley, you can see there is Archie, congrats on that giveaway. You can see there's a bluer tone to that, right? And so that is because they contain more iron than Colombian or Swat emeralds. Now, that higher iron content also means better transparency and durability. So Zambian emeralds typically have, typically have fewer fractures, so less of a jardín than the Swat Valley mine emeralds. And so they can take a polish really, really beautifully. Now, that doesn't mean that Zambian emeralds don't have all sorts of beautiful, beautiful items inside. If we take a look at the inclusions in a Zambian emerald, we won't see any three-phase inclusions. We will see some two-phase inclusions. We're going to see some, sometimes you might have some three-phase, but it's very uncommon compared to the Swat Valley. We're going to see some dark minerals in there. We're going to see growth tubes. We're going to see acetanilite needles, biotite and phlogopite, mica. We're going to see tremolite. So that is the difference there. And when we look at these inclusions, we can see that they are much different than Swat Valley Mine's magnesite three-phase inclusions. And that is how gemologists, again, are able to determine the origin of emeralds. You know, often to us, we look at an emerald and I'm like, I don't know where this is from. However, with a high power microscope, as you're looking at these, you might see certain giveaways, right? So especially the growth tubes in the Zambian. You'll see more iron in the Zambian, and you'll see some of those other types of mica and needle inclusions. And then the Zambian stones will have moderate chromium and vanadium, but again, significantly higher iron, which then is shifting that color bluer. So when we're comparing these stones, these are the types of inclusions that we are looking at as a gemologist, right? And I know we've got our friend Don Morning in here who's got some excellent equipment also. These are the types of giveaways and fingerprints and identifiers that we are looking for when we're looking at gemstones. And so also we're looking at other giveaway traits, such as in the Swat Valleys, of course, we're looking at the color, that vivid green. We're looking at pleochromism. We're looking at those dramatic inclusions, occasionally trapeze forms. And in the Zambian, on the other hand, we're looking for that bluish green, more clarity, the iron-rich chemistry, larger crystals. Both of these types of emeralds are beautiful, but they're just beautiful in a different way. One is fiery and vivid, the other is cool and elegant. So they are just a little bit different, Now, as we move forward here, you know what? Let me throw this back up here. So here, when we're comparing these inclusions, on the left side, on your left, my right, you're looking at the Swat Valley emerald with its three-phase inclusion. You see that tiny little bubble in there. You see the solid crystal. That's magnesite. And on your right, your left, you're seeing the Zambian emerald, which is cleaner with the acetanilite needles and the two-phase inclusions. So it's two continents and two totally different geological stories. Really, really exciting. Really, really exciting to see that. You're welcome, Medellin. So now, buying emeralds requires a lot of expertise. And especially when you are buying online, it is sad to say, and I see it on every platform out there. I also see it buying internationally in parcels. You might find people selling these beautiful clean stones saying, yep, genuine emerald. there you go. I'm selling it to you for $20 or $1 start or something. Study of Sweets with a raid. Welcome, welcome in Study of Sweets. Best candy out there. So you might see people trying to sell a stone like that. Unfortunately, many of the online clean stones being sold are synthetic or lab stones. And so this is why knowing your seller, having a good relationship based on trust is crucial. It is crucial. So gemstones can be sold not just in a mine. They can also be sold in impromptu auctions like this. Here, let me show you. This is our emerald seller in Swat Valley. And here he is selling one of the emeralds that he found. It was a huge, I think it was like 100-carat, very clean emerald, selling it in an impromptu auction right there on the street. All right, so he found one, and to the other miners, he's like, we're going to sell this emerald right here. So that is really, oh, that's a synthetic, Jess. That's a synthetic that I showed you. So this is where he sold one of his emeralds right there. They can also be sold in large street markets. All right, large street markets. Here is one of our other sellers. Here is one of our other sellers that we deal with. This is his street market. This is his street market, and this is where he sells all of his gems and minerals. He's got this set up. He does this once a week when he is not out collecting and cutting. It's basically like, and that's in Jaipur. That's in Jaipur. It is really, I'll show you that table again. Many of those, you might look at that and be like, hey, I've seen Peter sell some of those, right? That's where we get those from. That's where we get those from. It's like a flea market, just much fancier with that rug, right? Or gemstones such as the Zambian stones, those are exclusively sold in Bangkok at specific auctions that are set up by gem fields. And so here's a really neat video. Those are all SWAT in front of us. So gem fields auctions, and it doesn't work like an auction that you might think of where they put it up and they're bidding. What happens is you go there, you're showing each parcel, so each buyer is vetted, you're given a specific room, you get a small room that you go into like that, and they bring you the parcels that you're interested in, and you place your bids. So you have an agent that's assigned to you, and they bring you each specific parcel that you're interested in, and you have to buy or bid on that entire parcel. So that is how the emeralds and rubies that are sold by gem fields are then auctioned off. And so these are the reasons why when we tell you we have to buy a huge parcel, we have to buy a huge parcel of gems. Well, that's because we don't get to just say, hey, I want to buy just this one emerald. No, we've got to buy a huge parcel of emeralds. Otherwise, there is no way we could bring you the prices that we're bringing to you here. It is a huge investment. It is a huge investment. So, as we summarize this up, emeralds are not just green gemstones. They are geological biographies. And each inclusion, each color shift, each fracture, it is a chapter in that gemstone's history, right? So the Swat Valley mine emeralds, those are carrying the energy of these rising mountains. The Zambian emeralds are carrying that calm strength of the ancient creations. And together, these types of emeralds are reminding us that the beauty is born from pressure, chemistry, and time. It is really, really exciting. So that, my friends, sums up the learning portion of episode 13 of Shepherd's Gem Schools, the mysterious, elegant emeralds. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found that interesting. Jennifer, congratulations. Now we're going to run some amazing auctions here for you. We're going to run some amazing auctions for you. One thing I would like to show you real quick is we do sell some of these tiny small emeralds like these. Every now and then you see us selling these emeralds. These emeralds are painstakingly difficult to find. And here is what happens is the leftover mine tailings are given to these workers that wash them along the river. All right, these are about 50 pound bags of mine tailings, and that's after our guy's family goes through those. They wash these to find all those tiny little pieces. All right, there you go. There's the river. Just one, and look at all of these hardworking gentlemen. Very, very hard work. Now, each 50-pound bag only yields a few of these. We're gonna see the throughput right there. That's what they got out of a 50-pound bag. That's what they got out of washing a 50-pound bag. So it is unbelievably challenging, very hard work. But that is how they're able to salvage and get all of those tiny little emeralds. Absolutely amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Yeah, here's our vial. Here's our vial of that. You can imagine that Monica calls it emerald sugar, but you can imagine how long it took someone to find all of those tiny little emeralds, right? Absolutely a long time. All right. Let's